made it over. I do have a telephone graph. When I was starting to anchor here, I was like, I didn't anchor for like a year. So let me introduce yourself. Let's go. Let me see what I do. Yeah. It's I think when you like vertical videos, ask me how do you know if you don't remember. Yeah.
Yo. Yeah, I can hear you. Does it sound good? Because I was going to switch to the lav if this doesn't sound good.
Yeah, that should be 3.
Yo.
This is Justin in Vegas doing a mic check. Can you hear us okay?
You don't hear me at all?
Yeah, we can hear you.
That's crazy. Okay, give me a second.
Bueno, sí. Mic check, test 1, 2, 3. Mic check, testing 1, 2. Steve-O, you good? Okay. Con más emoción. Sí. Test. More emotion. Everybody good? Class? Everyone? Sí. Telemundo? Bueno, sí. Telemundo.
Did you ever know Joe Lombardo? I like school. She became a physician's assistant.
Not do anything.
She works at Johns Hopkins, but she wrote a novel, and it's a hilarious novel. It's about this woman who specifically has affairs with unhappily married men.
Yeah.
And so, but she's a sommelier in these restaurants.
Yeah.
And Joelle creates with that is like woven throughout the whole thing. It's like a sumptuous feast, both literally and metaphorically. Yeah. So anyway, so it's her first book, and I read it when she was like, I read the draft of it and gave her a couple of pointers, but yeah, so it's she's gonna be out there doing that. So
That's cool.
yeah. And then I think the Schumacher's doing the discussion with Bob Miller and Brian, so that should be good. And then I don't know what is Scott's doing this year.
I didn't see him on the email thing.
Yeah, on that, but
he's like still on the board or whatever, right? Isn't he helping behind the scenes or no?
he is, but he tries every year. He's like, next year I'm not doing it. Next year I'm not doing it. But they always say, how are you doing?
Yeah.
It gets tired after a while though, because like I said, you're explaining to people like, here's what this should be, and here's why your ideas are bad.
Yeah.
Like this year, their big idea was smart idea was to have city employees.
Oh, yeah.
Also,
I went out to the urban guy this year.
and when my wife,
It is,
she was like, I'm like, well, I can't read that. Concrete curing.
It's a steakhouse.
High district temperature.
Really?
From the guy from the Department of Public Works.
You're gonna really celebration for.
That's funny.
Zoning variances as you. A philosophical inquiry into city planning.
I might read that. I went to, my friend visited.
Don't I read it?
Yeah.
Well, because there have been books written on zoning variances.
Oh,
And you're also talking to the guy who has books about like all power council books, and then a book about how
It is, and I didn't
parking
realize that.
like defines major cities.
Yeah.
Doesn't define major cities.
Yeah, I love urban planning stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, it's,
Yeah.
it's,
Where would you, where would
so
you
you would,
realize?
so you would be able to.
Yeah, that would be
You'd
awesome.
be like, oh, right.
We make it work.
Oh, yeah.
And whatever you just put
Is there?
there's
There's a full comment.
Yeah, there is.
there's microphones like that.
¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde lo tienes? Es que si lo pones arriba, le hace. ¿Este es?
Ese es.
Sí, sí. A ver, lo vamos a mover acá, ¿ok? A ver cómo se va para. ¿Dónde está? Ok. Así, a ver si allí. A ver si más o menos. Sí, porque si lo pones hacia arriba,
Ah, ok.
hace. Es mucha interferencia. Interference. Everybody good?
It's doable now.
Okay.
Too many lights.
Too much interference.
Where did the press room?
It's in the Clark building. Yeah. And very late. And it's got everything that they have on the parts. No kidding. I'm like,
I live windmill and institution startup right there. So I'm like, when they moved here, I was like, the way you, yeah, not having to go down right now. I feel like we're so like,
not to go through it and all the same exercise. And I think
That's
tonight.
two. No, but thanks. So you like the casino? You walk in the winter time, like, cool. No.
I'm sure it's
Speaking of it, on your route, my route,
So yeah, I'm good.
yeah.
like you was here for last night.
Yeah,
She and I like go.
I hope I don't see you for a long time. I'm just going out and doing stuff.
yes, he did not like it. I was very excited.
One of our reporters is
I bet. I bet.
Well, he got tested. He was like the only one available for the first one. Then he went, and then like when he jumped in here, when he then he was like, go to the second one.
Right, 'cause you don't want to let them scare you away.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to let you, so I got him the second one. He's like, wait, I just want to but now there's been some distance. He's right.
And we were all the last time we were out and doing that ceremony signing. I swear to God, I think he signed the bill. And so he gave it 45 minutes. He watched it. So I put it on. And this one guy was from
Yeah. I know she told me that. She was like really good friends with my brother's ex-girlfriend.
You don't have to run. You'll be all right.
King's area.
Ooh, don't use that word.
Let me just make sure our northern folks are ready before we go any further. Alright, so we're ready.
You guys ready? All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us here today for this critical update. I want to begin today by once again thanking Nevada's IT teams, state employees, and agency leaders who have been working hard to help us recover from this cyber attack. I think it's important, that statement there, working hard to recover. There was a comment made earlier in the week about the holiday weekend, whether we were working through the process, and we did 24/7 since this has begun to ensure that we get the services back online. So our teams have worked 24/7 through the Labor Day weekend, and they have continued to work around the clock this week. I'm grateful for their dedication. I also want to thank our federal partners who are simultaneously working day and night on the investigation into this incident. Their dedication has kept services moving and has put us well ahead of the typical recovery timelines. To put this in perspective, the typical recovery timeline for an incident of this nature can be to the order of several weeks to months. And there's citations available for that statement there if you wish to be provided. Today, I can report that we are moving well ahead of that projection. Last week, we shared a positive update, and today we will share more. But as we have said before, transparency during a cyber incident must be balanced with security. Public updates can sometimes trigger more attacks. For that reason, we are moving forward cautiously, giving Nevadans as much information as possible while continuing to protect our systems. Our focus remains the same, restoring the services that Nevadans rely on every day. With that in mind, I'm pleased to share that key progress has been made. Concerning the DMV, which is very important, the most common question through this process is DMV. Nevadans can once again complete essential services in person, such as registrations and title transfers. And beginning tomorrow, Nevadans can receive their driver's licenses in person too. While some services may still be running slower than usual, operations are back online. Additionally, key health and social service systems have remained available throughout this incident. Programs such as Medicaid and the Public Employees Benefits Program continued processing claims and paying out benefits to providers without interruption. Critical programs like SNAP and TANF were also maintained, and benefits distribution has not been disrupted. We know how essential these services are to our most vulnerable residents, and we made it a priority to keep them running. Nevadans can be confident that health coverage, food assistance, and other benefits, along with payments, have not stopped during the cyber event. Should any Nevadans have questions about their benefits, all Division of Social Services public buildings are open and seeing clients. Furthermore, we continue to update our recovery website twice a day so that Nevadans can access all state information from a central secure source. Every agency has worked to restore key elements of their service, and all agencies have provided contact information for constituents during the recovery period. Each of these steps brings us closer to full restoration, and I want Nevadans to know every decision we make is about putting you first, Nevadans first. As we reported last week, data was exfiltrated during the cyber attack. The investigation into this matter is ongoing and remains a top priority. However, I can provide some reassurances today. To the best of our knowledge, to the best of our knowledge at this time, the data compromised did not include state financial information. No state bank account numbers, treasury funds, or state budget payment systems data appear to have been part of the breach. Our core financial systems remain secure and were not accessed by the attackers. SNAP and TANF client information. Data related to public assistance programs was not among the exfiltrated files. In other words, records of individuals receiving food stamps or welfare benefits were not compromised. Department of Motor Vehicle Records. The breach did not involve DMV databases. We have no evidence that driver's license data, vehicle registration information, or personal details from DMV records were stolen. If investigators eventually discover otherwise, we will follow Nevada's strict statutes about personal data breaches by notifying any affected individuals promptly and providing resources to help protect them. Please rest assured that we will provide any and all updates on this issue as soon as we are able to. We remain committed to transparency, and we remain committed to ensuring that we do not jeopardize the recovery process. I want Nevadans to know this: we are doing everything possible to restore systems, protect your information, and provide services you count on. State teams are working 24/7, and progress continues every day in the meantime. I ask for your patience and confidence in with the work being done. Nevada is strong, and we will come through this together. Bears repeating. Nevada is strong, and we will come through this together, I assure you. Now, before I take any questions, I want to reiterate this. I'm unable to answer any questions about the technical elements of the attack, the identity of the attackers, or anything about the ongoing nature of the federal investigation. I know that's frustrating, but it's very important that we have a balance and ensure that we don't have continued attacks occur as a result of releasing information before it should be released. With that said, I'm happy to discuss the state's ongoing recovery efforts, especially as it pertains to restoring services for Nevadans. Thank you.
We've heard there were some interruptions to emergency services. While 911 wasn't completely down, it was impaired some, and then the Nevada State Police lines were down Sunday, Monday, and some of Tuesday. You had said earlier that there were no interruptions. Do you have new information on that?
No, I do not. That's new information you're providing.
Governor, can you talk about how you are personally managing this, how often you get updated, what directives you're giving, how closely you're overseeing everything as this unfolds?
Well, like I said in the previous press conference, daily by the hour. You know, as we get through in the later stages of this and we get into the recovery process, I would say it would not continue by the hour, as you know, as early as tomorrow, but it'll be several times during the 24-hour period. Right now, it's a lot of due diligence and ensuring that that data that I had mentioned earlier has not been released, and ensure to bring confidence to the constituents here in Nevada that their data, their information, their personal identifier information is safe within the state systems. And I know it's frustrating. I know it's very frustrating. There's individuals, there's examples across the board to where they're unable to get answers. An example of being gun registrations, you know, the ability to sell firearms because the checks go along with it. And I just said, you know, previously NCIC and CGIS was back online, but there's some compartmental different issues when you do Brady checks, nuances in every different department across the board. And that's why I can't give you a 100% answer today on how much has actually been put back online, because there's little compartments and different processes and different departments that may be affected that we have to ensure that they're safe before we provide 100%.
Governor, one of the services that you've been discussing is the DMV, and you mentioned driver's licenses you can start getting tomorrow. Why are we seeing some services almost fully back like the DMV, but others still further behind?
I believe I just answered that question. It is because there's different departments in each database that the 100% of it is back online. We have to systematically go through each one of those databases and query information pieces and ensure they're not affected. As we determine which ones are not affected, then those are presented. So.
Governor, do you have like a goal in mind for when you hope all systems and services will be fully recovered?
Tomorrow, right? That's my goal. But you know, that's a lofty goal. And I mentioned earlier, Jessica, you know, we normally in these type of incidents, it takes several weeks to including a couple months. I think we've done monumental strides as a result of this investigation in short order. And tomorrow would be the goal, but more realistically, it'd be in the next few days.
Governor, last time we had the press conference, you talked about some of the different departments are on silos and some are not. Is there any update on whether the state is looking at adding more departments on the silo system in this recovery process or moving forward?
That's an ongoing conversation as we go through this, because there was a wide breadth of the departments affected by this, and can we compartmentalize that even better into the future? Yes, absolutely.
Governor, I know Tanya Laney isn't here, but you know, at the last presser, she was talking about how the appointments canceled during the outage, they would be seen for 2 weeks after, and then if more extensions are needed, then they would extend that. Is that only for the services that are currently available, or all the license appointments as well, starting now?
That would be the license appointments also. You know, I know there's an inherent fear. People's driver's licenses are due to expire. It may affect their travel and ability to travel. There's a fear on your vehicle registration. You know, am I going to be pulled over by the police and suffer the consequences of it being expired and driving? Those are standard continuances that are provided during different times. You know, you could have an outage at DMV at any time outside of a cyber attack, and law enforcement is made fully aware of those nuances and to ensure people don't suffer the consequences of that. If they do, DMV will be proactive in mitigating it.
Governor, a week since your last news conference, have you guys gotten any indication as to why you may have been targeted, or if the state has decided whether or not to pay this ransom via insurance?
As I said earlier today, I can't make any comments reference the investigation.
Governor, during the last session, there was a bill to create a central security operations center in the executive branch that would allow local governments and school districts to kind of opt in and share in the state's efforts to prevent cyber attacks. That bill didn't pass. Is there any discussion about bringing that back, possibly in a special session later this year?
There hasn't been any discussion reference a special session and bringing it back there, but absolutely an attempt will be made again in the next regular session. Yes, sir.
Governor Kyle Payne, KLAS Television. Given the severity and extent of the attack and your answers to our questions about your personal response and your response to the public and the media and your reaction to those questions at last week's press conference, and given that we've only heard from you twice in that time, how do you think this attack will impact your chances for re-election?
Good question. I don't think it'll have any effect.
How come?
Because I think the people in Nevada have confidence in my ability to address a crisis. And I think I've done it very well.
I know you won't release details now about the technical aspects in terms of what any demands are, or who's behind it, or their motivation, but at what point would you, if there was a ransom, would you tell it publicly that there was one, that you weren't paying it, or you were paying it, or what does it look like in terms of the release of such information? Because I think people are worried that by saying you won't release information because it's part of the investigation might never end, and we might never find answers.
Well, we will be transparent on that aspect once the time comes. I would not by no means say, no, we're not going to ever provide you any information on that, but when the time comes, we will.
Governor, I know you said we don't really have an exact timeline on full restoration of services, but is it something that could be a few weeks? And is there like a priority list of what's next in the restoration, what you're targeting next that hasn't been restored yet?
Well, we prioritize on a regular basis, and if you go to the presented website that we provide, that we update twice a day, it shows those priorities. And you can tell by the systems that are coming online, that is synonymous to the priorities. So now we are addressing the original triage departments. You know, let's use an arbitrary amount of a dozen. The specific systems that we weren't able to bring back in totality. So we're processing through that, and one of them in particular is DMV. You know, it's very frustrating for a lot of people because they're affected by DMV on a regular basis. But in that original triage was what is people going to suffer financially, personal information, and or services that the state provides on a daily basis. And we've addressed those particular ones in due order. But there are some little nuances and little separate databases and software functionality that we have to continue to address.
Could you tell me one message to those who have possibly lost wages or lost customers or money who have been impacted by the cyber attack?
Could you quantify that or qualify that?
I've seen there was like a few car insurance places and dealerships who have lost money and say that the DMV being closed has really affected their businesses. So do you have a message for me?
I would have to push back on that connotation because it would not affect their business because of the ability to get a waiver for your registration.
Governor, what is taking so long? What's the biggest hurdle for your team to overcome for services to be fully restored?
A lot of data has to be evaluated. As you can imagine the history of the state system, right? That's a lot of data migration to build it out on other servers and other systems and then ensure it's not compromised. That takes a lot of person hours and a lot of labor associated with that.
Governor,
as you can imagine, everything everybody does on a daily basis has some kind of IT system associated with it. So it takes a long time to evaluate that. And an example would be the Core NV project. The Smart 21 previous to that, which encompasses all the services that the state provides in payments, tax collections, and salaries, and everything else across the board, how long that has been taking to migrate the systems, the old antiquated systems into the new modern day systems. That has taken several years. This process has taken 10 days. And so I think we've done monumental work in that space.
Governor, do you have an estimate?
This will be the last question. Okay. Go ahead.
Do you have an estimate for how much this is costing the state financially as far as the length of time that the systems have been down, employees need to be paid?
No, we don't have a totality of that. That'll be a running spreadsheet. But to bring you some confidence, we have insurance for this type of incident. And so there's a premium cost at the beginning of that. And we anticipate the insurance company will be cooperative in dealing with those costs. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.